What's going on, everybody? My name is Aiden and welcome back to another video. Ladies and gentlemen, today we are going to be discussing another article that suggests a Chicago Bulls player can be traded away for a potential superstar player in this league. Now, ultimately, this is a player that I think we've talked about in the past, but probably not talked about enough. And I do think there is a chance he gets traded away from his team. But is the Bulls the landing spot for this specific player? It'd be quite an interesting trade if we were able to pull it off. Today, I want to talk about New Orleans Pelican star Brandon Ingram. But before we get any further, if you like the video and you want to see more from me, drop a like, drop a follow, and or subscribe if you are new. And let me know in the comments below your thoughts about whether or not you believe the Bulls could pull off a potential trade for Brandon Ingram. Now, I'm not going to necessarily tell you the specifics in the trade, because again, it's part of an article, but all I really know is that it will take a couple of Bulls players to see traded to the New Orleans Pelicans for Brandon Ingram. I kind of want to talk about the likelihood more than anything of this happening and what it could mean for the Bulls to acquire Brandon Ingram. But in a nutshell, the two specific players that was told in the article to trade off to get a Brandon Ingram into this team is Lonzo Ball and Nikola Vucevic, and we get Brandon Ingram and I think a couple of other guys as well, maybe some role players in there and maybe some picks in there as well. I'm not sure how it necessarily works, but ultimately I guess the biggest question we need to ask here is, what does Brandon Ingram bring to the Chicago Bulls? Well, first and foremost, out of everything that we could talk about here, Brandon Ingram is a prolific scorer. He's a very good and deadly mid-range scorer. He is someone that can take over a game at any given point in time. And he's ultimately a player as well that when you maybe, I wouldn't necessarily say clutch, but when you think of someone that you could desperately lean on to score, or someone that you could help you bail out of a shot, Brandon Ingram is that guy. He was often, rumored or linked to the next Kevin Durant. And ultimately, I don't think he's the next Kevin Durant. I think that time is most definitely past, but he is still a fantastic player in his own right, and he's also a relatively younger player as well. He is 27 years old, entering those prime years, and I guess beggars can't be choosers in this situation. We know for a fact the Bulls have not necessarily been a great free agency team, so maybe the best way to acquire talent is through trading. Maybe it's through the draft. Whatever the case may be. Now, that's what Brandon Ingram brings to this Bulls team. He's also a forward, so you can play him in the power forward position. You can play him in the small forward position. I do think those are the positions that we lack. So getting rid of players to bring in a forward as well, a solid forward as such, could be an interesting dynamic. Many might often say, consider him a replacement for DeMar DeRozan in many ways. Maybe a younger version of DeMar that can probably play a little bit more defense, maybe can move around the court a little bit more, maybe fits more of a modern game as well because he can shoot the three ball at an okay level. So ultimately, these are the things that we need to consider when talking about Brandon Ingram. But the two players that we talked about, Lonzo Ball and Nikola Vucevic, those are the players that we would have to get rid of in order to get a deal like this to happen, at least according to this article. Now, first and foremost, I don't think we're getting Brandon Ingram, and most importantly, I don't think the Pelicans accept that deal for Brandon Ingram. So if you're a New Orleans Pelicans fan rushing into this video saying there is no way this is happening, ultimately I do agree with you. I do not think we could get Brandon Ingram into this Bulls team, at least with that specific type of trade. But let's just say hypothetically we could get that deal over the line. Is it worth getting a deal like this over the line? Does it make sense for the Bulls to do so? Well, I guess it depends on what type of Bulls team you would like to see, but we have to talk about the players that we are getting rid of in this case. So, Nikola Vucevic. Is it worth getting rid of Nikola Vucevic for Brandon Ingram? Well, ultimately, yes, I do believe so. I think Nikola Vucevic, we've seen time and time again, has spoken publicly about how trades have been a big topic of discussion for him. It's not been a secret. The Bulls have been trying to trade Nikola Vucevic. There's rumors and talks continuing about trading Nikola Vucevic. So I do think it makes sense. Again, Vucevic is getting up there in age, worth $20 million for the Chicago Bulls. I actually think it's a benefit for him in this case. But at the end of the day, he is someone that probably could do well for the New Orleans Pelicans. But I do believe, if I'm not mistaken, they still have a guy named Jonas Valanciunas. Maybe I'm wrong. I'll quickly search it up just to make sure. But if they do have a Jonas Valanciunas on their team, why would they really need a Nikola Vucevic? I am searching it up right now, and he actually plays for the Washington Wizards, so that's not necessarily something we need to discuss. So maybe Vucevic can be that type of replacement for the Pelicans that they may need in this case. But then you turn to, obviously, Lonzo Ball. And Lonzo Ball will divide opinion for everybody. Obviously, at his best, Lonzo Ball is a dynamite player. Elite defensively, one of the best guards in the league defensively. Offensively, could give you 40% from the 3-point line. Maybe could give you 10 to 12, maybe 15 points on any given night. And again, it's a dynamite player that makes a very big impact in plus-minus, makes a very big impact on the court. And look, I don't think it's solely Lonzo Ball's reason why the Bulls have failed in the case when he got hurt, but you can't deny he does play a big impact in us winning games. So there is a very important player there. Not to mention he is a former New Orleans Pelicans player, if you want to add that fuel to the fire. And the big question here you got to ask is, do you think we could get the best Lonzo Ball back? If the answer is no, there's a solid case for potentially trading him away to go and get a Brandon Ingram. Most importantly, I think Brandon Ingram has a better health record than Lonzo Ball as well. Lonzo Ball, even prior to this injury, has had very, very injury-riddled seasons. These are things you need to begin to ask and question, ladies and gentlemen. So, again, with all that being said, that's the question I think each of us individually would need to ask ourselves. And to give my answer on this situation, would I trade Lonzo Ball and Nikola Vucevic for a Brandon Ingram? I don't think I should. I don't think we should, ladies and gentlemen. Now, I might be called crazy based on this, and look, maybe I am a little bit crazy, but hear me out for a second. If you want this Bulls team to retool, going after Brandon Ingram might be the perfect choice. He's very costly, but he's a player that probably could work well with Zach LaVine if you want to keep him around. Could probably work well with Kobe White. Could probably work well with a couple of other guys. We've got a young, vibrant team in there. Brandon Ingram could be that veteran presence in the team, and everything's hunky-dory in that case. You try to go and compete once more. Maybe we do compete. Maybe we win some games. Maybe we're a top team in the East. If that's the case, look, hats off to the Bulls for pulling off that trade. The way that I see it, though, I don't think Brandon Ingram makes us that... let me phrase my words here a little bit. I don't think Brandon Ingram makes us a championship team. I'm not going to sit here and say Brandon Ingram won't make us better. That'd be foolish. I do think he'd make us better. I think he could make us into maybe a top 6 team in the Eastern Conference. Maybe. At the end of the day, I think the East has gotten significantly worse. That's just my opinion. You get someone like Brandon Ingram into the Eastern Conference, he can help dominate. Maybe the Bulls could get somewhere in that department, or ultimately we could just fall into the play-in bracket like we have over the past couple of seasons. I think that's fair enough, right? I think we can all agree with that. We can all make our claims about that. Is that enough, though? And this is where I would strongly go against. Maybe not strongly, but I would hesitate to go and get a Brandon Ingram because the Bulls have made a clear direction to go younger. And they've traded DeMar DeRozan to do that. They brought in Josh Giddey to do that. And ultimately, I think they need to stick to this plan. Now, does that mean trading Lonzo Ball and Vucevic is out of the question entirely? Of course not. I think there is a chance that we could trade Nikola Vucevic. With Lonzo Ball, I don't think we could get a trade for Lonzo Ball right now. So in terms of Lonzo Ball, we need to wait and see how he performs on the court. Very similar to Zach LaVine. And if he can show what he could do on the court, then the Bulls will have a decision to make about whether to pivot and go for a more competitive team, or they try to trade him off and continue that younger streak, younger talent, younger development. But I don't think we need to be rushing into anything right now. Brandon Ingram is a heck of a player. But at the end of the day, the Bulls are not in prime position. They're not, for example, a Miami Heat, where Miami are one player, one really right-fitted superstar caliber player away from truly competing in the Eastern Conference. We're not the Philadelphia 76ers, where all we need is one dynamic player that can go and win a championship for them. Or, the Golden State Warriors, they've had a dynasty for ages, or maybe they need just one rejuvenated type of player, maybe that Klay Thompson replacement, and they can go on again and compete or anything of those nature. We're not those teams. We are a team that's going younger, and I think we need to stick to the script there. So look, Brandon Ingram, heck of a player, but I think the Bulls should be going in a different direction, at least for now, and let's wait and see. That's my answer. Do you agree? I know it's going to divide opinion here. And again, I do feel like those players in question could be traded. I just don't think this is the right one for us. Let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next one. Stay safe, stay healthy, and stay tuned for more. Take care, and peace.